Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to take you back to somewhere ancient, but deeply relevant. So let's talk about conflict and not just arguments or office politics or, that silent tension at the dinner table, but the kind of conflict that lives inside of us, the choices we make when our spirits stretch or our energy's drained or we're caught between who we are and who the world expects us to be. And to guide us, we're going to turn to an ancient text that you might have heard of, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Now, if you've heard of this book, you may associate it with military tactics or business strategies, and it's that, but it's much more. And I've been going through the chapters. In chapter 3, Sun Tzu gives us something really profound, especially for women like you and me who have been navigating a modern life full of all these competing demands. In chapter 3, Sun Tzu drops some serious truth about protecting your energy when dealing with drama because, let's be real, conflict is exhausting. And in last week's episode, I broke down why your time, focus, and sanity are your most valuable resources. And this week, we're leveling up how to handle messy situations without burning through what's ever left in your tank. Hey, let me take a quick minute to remind you about HealthHUB, the members only area where we spend a lot of time talking about different exercises for our spirituality and the different aspects of our spirituality and overall health. So if you would like to learn more about HealthHUB, there should be a link up here in the corner or in the video description below. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Now, pause with me there because in our world, we're taught the opposite. We're taught to be louder, to push harder, to stand your ground and prove your worth. But what if the most sacred strategy is not resistance, but redirection? Let's bring this home. So think about the moments when you've felt pulled into battle, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. Maybe it's a coworker who's constantly challenging your authority, the family member who always questions your choices, or the voice inside your head that says you have to do more to be enough. Well, in chapter 3, The Art of War teaches that true power lies not in obliterating your opponent, but in discerning whether the battle is even worth your presence. And that's where we are as spiritual women when we reclaim our strategy. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step away. When a relationship demands that you shrink or you sacrifice or stay silent, walking away, it's not failure, it's actually freedom, and it's not weakness, it's wisdom. Because your energy is sacred, and the woman who listens to her inner compass, even when it points towards discomfort or change, isn't avoiding conflict. She's engaging on her own terms. She's saying, I no longer spend my power proving my worth. I reserve it for what matters most. And that, my friend, is divine strategy. Sun Tzu warns us about one type of opponent in particular, one that is rigid, walled in, and unmovable. And you actually know the type, the conversation that never lands, the person who deflects, dominates, or simply refuses to grow. Engaging with that kind of energy isn't just exhausting, it's expensive. Chapter 3 reminds us if you fight a fortified city head on, you're going to lose valuable troops. It's going to drain your resources and it creates unnecessary damage. And that's exactly what happens when we fight with those who are spiritually, emotionally, or energetically unavailable. So what's the strategy? Don't charge the wall. Walk away from it. Yet there's actually a real enemy in those moments inside ourselves, and it's impatience. Impatience creeps in when we're trying to force understanding or control the outcomes or speed up someone else's journey. And in doing so, we become that walled in warrior. We're going to lose our flow. We block our intuition. And Sun Tzu would say that in trying to conquer something prematurely, we risk becoming what we fight. And I don't know about you, but I've actually lived that lesson a few too many times. So let's talk about power, and not the kind that dominates a boardroom or storms the battlefield, but the kind of quiet, grounded power that grows in a woman who has done her inner work. The woman who knows when to speak and when to hold silence, when to set a boundary, and when to let someone go. In chapter 3 of The Art of War, Sun Tzu says, to capture the enemy's entire army is better than destroying it. To take intact a regiment, a company, or a squad is better than to destroy them. Now, this isn't just battlefield wisdom, it's relational wisdom, spiritual wisdom, emotional maturity in action. And that's the one thing I really like about these ancient books. They help me identify when I'm being a grown-up and when I'm being a child. And when I can see that in myself, I can also see and understand that in others. So instead of getting hooked, I better understand the capabilities of those around me. And that's when you start to understand what grounded power really means. When you hold the power in a situation, maybe you have more clarity, more emotional regulation, or just simply more willingness to grow. And it can be tempting to win the conflict, to prove a point, or to come out on top. But true power doesn't need to prove itself. Sun Tzu reminds us the skillful leader subdues the enemy without fighting. Now, that's a profound invitation. Think about the moments when you're facing someone stuck in their fear, their ego, or their rigidity. Maybe it's a parent who refuses to evolve, a boss clinging to control, or even a partner who meets vulnerability with withdrawal or attacking. And when you have the energetic upper hand, how you use it defines your emotional spirituality. Do you use it to humiliate or dominate, or can you create space? Holding power means letting someone retreat without shame, and it means giving others the dignity to change and the opportunity to change, even if they never do. Because here's the truth. It's not your job to make someone grow. Your job is to keep your side of the energy clean. And in Taoism, there's a principle of Wu Wei, action through non-action, not because you're passive, but because you're rooted and you're aligned. You don't rush, you don't push, you surround, you're going to hold that container, and you create the conditions where transformation could happen without forcing it. And that's what the art of war teaches when it says the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. And subduing doesn't mean overpowering. It means disarming the charge, stepping out of reactivity, and staying in your own clarity. So if you're holding the power in a situation, especially emotional power, ask yourself, can I respond instead of react? Can I stay grounded while someone else spirals? Can I create an exit ramp for the conflict without needing to be right? That is the power of grace. That is conflict transformation, not just resolution. And that is the path of the wise woman warrior. Here's the hard truth. Not every battle is worth your energy. And we've talked about two kinds of battles where you're just better off walking away from entirely. And the first is when the power is imbalanced, it's stacked against you, when you're being diminished, boxed in, or you're expected to shrink yourself to fit someone else's narrative. So, spoiler alert, that's not a fight, it's a trap. And the other one is when you're dealing with what Sun Tzu calls a walled city. So, someone so stuck in their own rigid beliefs that they refuse to see beyond their self-built fortress. You can't reason with a mindset that refuses to grow. But then there's this third scenario where you actually hold power. And this is where strategy meets the soul, where staying grounded, emotionally centered, and clear on your boundary becomes your superpower, because true strength isn't about domination. It's about choosing when to engage, when to redirect, and when to simply let the universe handle the rest. Okay, until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.